In today's episode, we're going to be discussing some really sensitive topics, including sexual abuse. This is your disclaimer to let you know that we are being as sensitive and respectful to as many people as possible. Happy Pride Month! Cue the gays. Cue the anthems. What anthem would I have right now? Sure,
I was
Believe.
you're in a lot of colour and I'm not. I didn't read the room for this episode.
No, you didn't. Story of our life, though.
Little heart.
We are in Pride Month, and, you know, the common thread that you see online is like, we don't have a straight month. Like, we're straight Pride. And what I'm going to try and do is kind of share my unapologetic fucking position on why Pride's important and why it's important to me and why it should be important to you. And then I'm going to bring somebody onto this episode that's going to help bolster what it means to be an ally. Even when you're facing, like, I guess, big criticism and losing your job. So when people say, why don't we have straight parades and straight pride, and why is that gay? It's because until you can go to jail for being born straight anywhere in the world, like you can be as a gay person, locked up for literally being yourself, that's when pride is important. I always have to go back to, it's wild to me to think, even, you know, when you hear the comment, oh, but they're ramming it down our throat. Do you mean like me as a young gay child in the closet, every single love song I ever listened to was about a boy in love with a girl or a girl in love with a boy? Every TV ad where they're taking their border collie vet, you know, to the vet, was a family with two young kids and a mum and a dad. Every love story on a TV show on Friends was always between opposite sexes, never same sex. Every film, and even if it was two young kids on a Ferris wheel for their first kiss, you know, and it was like fireworks going off behind them, and it was July 4th holidays, and their first kiss was on a Ferris wheel, it was always with the opposite sex. So when people start to see gay stories being told now, it fascinates me that they go, it's being rammed down our throat, when our entire existence, we always had to consume love as being only something between opposite genders and opposite sexes. And so it kind of gets me so passionate and sometimes furious that when people go, it's being rammed down our throat, I never got angry when I saw a man and a woman in love. I followed their love story, and I was always really emotive towards it, right? And I was like, oh my God, they're in love. I can't wait to be in love. So it fascinates me now that when people go, oh, it's being rammed down our throat, why don't they see two people in love as something to celebrate and something really nice versus thinking it's demonized, which then I think unlocks something even greater and bigger in them. I think they're telling us and showing us who they are. Would you?
And you probably say we had a little touch of it with recently Heated Rivalry, right? Like the biggest show in the world for a little bit, dare I say?
Yes.
Was showing a love story between same-sex couple, which the world seemed to be more open to it.
And I've been confused, and I've actually asked people, why do you like that show? Because it's so jarring to me to see,
for the first time,
hetero community enjoying a gay love story. And I'm like, is it just because they're hot guys, or do you connect with the story? And have you watched it?
No, but one of the things you just said that really resonated with me, Scott, is that, you know, your whole life it was sort of male-female relationships in shows, but you were like, you were able to get on board the love, right? And then you're right, like sometimes in movies and TV, if it's a same-sex couple, there's all this like, oh, why would they do that? They're forcing it down our throats. What the hell? Like, why can't we have the exact same feeling for a same-sex relationship on screen as we do for a hetero relationship? I've never thought of that. That was really insightful for me.
So, which, you know, where my point lies, right? Why is there a Pride Month? Because we find ourselves pushed aside all the time, and even when we're trying to be our call it normal, authentic, true selves, Sassy Scott still walks into a room and has to read whether or not I'm going to hold my husband's hand. Even though I've got children and a public profile and I'm an out proud man, I still have to sense check if it's safe for me to be my true authentic self because of my sexuality, right? So I don't believe a straight person has ever, and more power to you, has ever had to walk into a room and go, oh my God, I'm straight. That's my reality. So therefore, I have to be very careful and cautious of how I go about myself because I might be bashed, I might be targeted, I might have somebody throw a slur at me, I might go to jail. Which leads into my next story. I have many lives. Some people that have listened to the the potty from the start to the end would have heard me tell stories about, how I've had guns held to my head in Ghana and I've gone to fucking jail there. And so pretty much what I did, I ran away when I was 21. And for on and off for 13 years, I traveled back and forth serving an NGO, a not-for-profit in Ghana. I'm not going to name the name of it for a million reasons that are about to come out. And in this country, I got really, really close with obviously community who we were serving, but also with people like the US ambassador. Some of the most elite human beings, whether they were entertainers, and it was such a privilege to spend a lot of time in this country, in Ghana. It was an incredible cultural explosion on all your senses, feelings and emotions. The Ghanaian people are fucking phenomenal. You know how they're feeling and what they're thinking, even if you don't understand the words that they're saying, because they live and breathe it all on their facial expressions, in their tone, everything. And I loved going there. I was part of bringing Global Citizen out there. We had Usher, we had SZA come out there. It's kind of crazy, right? And I'm really proud of what I did in that country and how I served. Obed Oliver, my son's named after somebody that I worked with on and off for so many years there as well. I found myself in trouble, but I found myself at really good parties. And what's really fascinating is it was illegal to be gay when I was there, but I wasn't hooking up with people. I was fucking serving, right? Like I was working. But it was always on my mind that it was legal to be gay there.
Why would you go there then? Like, would you want to go support a country that potentially had values more aligned to yours? Or like, what was your understanding there? Or were you unaware of it going there?
I was somewhat aware of it. And then over time, my values of supporting a community were greater than what they were of my own, call it safety. And then also there was a reality that my community often needs people that are going to push against the rules and the systems and the policies of politics to make sure that they're seen, heard, and protected. And so in May, the 29th of May this year, Ghana's parliament has passed the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. The new bill criminalises the promotion, funding, sponsorship, or advocacy of LGBTQIA plus activity, with prison terms reportedly ranging from 3 to 5 years and some provisions up to 10 years. It also introduces this is what's crazy, a duty to report suspected prohibited LGBTQIA plus activity, with penalties for not reporting as well. So meaning if you know that your child or somebody in your workplace is talking about it and you didn't report that you knew that they were or that they are talking about it, then you therefore also face imprisonment.
Which is wild. So is that any reference to it?
Yes,
so not even knowing what, but even consuming, I don't know.
Exactly right. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to talk about it. Completely silencing a community's ability to exist. Even an ally can't even say, hang on, whoa, no, like I see you, or no, I believe in gay rights. Like I believe that they, deserve the right to exist. you saying that, you can face jail.
So anyone, advocates not even who are from Ghana going to the country talking about it will be locked up.
So what's really fascinating to me is Ghana's really big at the moment about
Immigration, tourism.
Ghana's really big on tourism at the moment. And they kind of were back then. You know, they were doing this really huge outreach. You know, the beautiful history of Ghana, which is really ugly too, you know, is a lot of the slave trade came out of Ghana. So there was this really big thing to come back to your roots, to come back home to Ghana. So, you know, the biggest fucking you know, entertainers and most prolific people around the world in America and the UK were all starting to come back to Ghana to find out their roots. And it's beautiful. But now all of a sudden, if they want that to be such a really big thing, however, they're saying it's illegal to be gay or to advocate, well, then I'm encouraging people to not go to that country because it is completely silencing a huge community of people that live there. And it goes against your values, you know, to support a nation that's passing such a harsh penalty.
But first, so the rules have always been there. It seems like they just put it in writing.
No, they're making them even stricter and harder. It was illegal to be gay, so for you to be in a homosexual relationship, you could face imprisonment. Now to even talk about it, to acknowledge its existence,
but have they said
illegal.
why? Like, why are they doing it?
Because they're homophobic.
But why? That's just the reason.
Yeah, they're very
There's no
homophobic.
threat to society. Like, have they put like anything more to than just putting down the rules?
What do you mean?
It's probably just like historical,
it is.
extremely
Religion, and it's
values.
conservative, it's religious values.
Goes against maybe what they preach elsewhere or something. I don't know.
What do you mean by preach elsewhere?
Like, it goes against their religion.
Yeah, but Ghana's
Possibly.
made up of many religions. It's a Christian country, but yes, it would be religious values. Again, thanks, Christian Church. You know, for all of the great that you do for communities.
I mean, to be fair, it's only is it 10 years of marriage equality in Australia? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if we only got that 10 years ago, there's countries all around the world who are so much further behind, right?
Yeah, and that's why it's infuriating to me when people are like, why do we have, you know, Pride Month? It's like, because we face, in certain countries, our community face going to jail for just who they are, whereas it's never happened to a straight person. And how fortunate for you that it hasn't happened, right? And I bang on, the reason why we got marriage equality was because of our allies. I always say, we, the gays, we didn't have the numbers to win the vote. So it was up to our allies to help us get equality, right, across the board. And there was a person when I was in Ghana who was so influential that chose to be an ally at one of the toughest fucking moments and times. He was the Australian High Commissioner to West Africa. He's also been a diplomat in China and in other parts of the world. He was the High Commissioner. Anyway, we're going to get Greg Andrews on and we're going to have a chat to him because what happened to him when he was there as an ally was unbelievable. Welcome, Greg Andrews. I think I had to call you His Excellency back in the days.
Yeah, actually, so ambassadors and high commissioners have these dodgy terms, Your Excellency. I wouldn't let people call me that. I was always trying to get people to call me Gregory, but many wouldn't.
Well, Gregory.
I'll just start straight away, Gregory, then. I'm coming from a very naive place. Do you want to even explain to me what this role is that you were in Ghana?
Sure, Luke. Yeah, so look, I actually work for myself now as an Aboriginal man doing community development and climate action and human rights work. But for 31 years, I worked in the Australian government and I finished my career as Australia's ambassador and high commissioner to 9 countries in West Africa. So I was based in Ghana and I was responsible for Australia's relations with 120 million people in West Africa. So everything from like helping Australians stranded in distress to promoting Australian values. I think the Australian government, both Labor and Liberal, also like promoting fossil fuels and a few things that I didn't really like doing. But one of the things that I really felt strongly about was human rights for everyone and that you can't pick and choose human rights. And unfortunately in Ghana, when I was there, they were starting a journey that they're now even deeper into of criminalising people based on their identity, criminalising LGBT people and allies. There was already horrific violence and discrimination against LGBT people. And so, I just did, I think, what any ordinary Aussie should do, which is stand up for what's right. I used some of the money from Australia's aid program and other resources to fit out the first LGBT safe space in Accra, the capital of Ghana. And so I worked with other embassies, the EU and the Danish embassy, to help the LGBT community set up their first safe space. But unfortunately, that was raided and shut down within a week. And there were some pretty crazy things going on over there. Like another time they arrested 21 women for being lesbians, and raped them as punishment for being lesbians. So when things like that happen, I spoke out.
What is speaking out, though? Is that within Ghana or is that back to Australia? What is speaking out?
Yeah, both. So, of course, I reported what was happening, which is part of our job as diplomats to report what's happening. But also in Ghana, if I was asked if I was doing a radio interview, or I met as the ambassador with the head of Ghana's parliament and with different leaders, and I explained that Ghana has signed on to human rights treaties that Australia is also a signatory to, and that according to those, but also just according to basic human decency, human rights belong to all of us. We can't just pick and choose. And because what they were doing is they were picking and choosing human rights for straight people, and they were actually actively criminalising, arbitrarily arresting, and actually creating violence against the LGBT community there.
I'm fascinated. I was included in some really incredible events, parties, closed room dinners in that country many a times, and got really close with very influential people. What fascinates me is there are gay people. They exist in Ghana. And a lot of these very senior people, I'm wondering, are they going to enforce these laws on their own children who are adults, who are also a part of my community? I wonder what they're going to do. The people that are trying to bring these laws in also have children that are within our community. They know that. I know that.
And so many people in Ghana were really horrified about what was happening.
Yeah.
And so when I criticise Ghana for what it's doing, I'm not criticising the Ghanaian people because they're victims of this. And also, I think taking it back a step, the people who are actually doing this, who are implementing these laws, the reason they're doing it, and because you're right, they would have family members who are gay or transgender, etc. The reason they're doing it is for two reasons.
What are they?
So they're trying to distract people, and they're trying for power and distraction. So they want to win elections and stay in power, and they want to distract people. You know, in Ghana, even ambulances don't have the right of way on the roads, but the ministers and the really rich people go up and down the street in these giant cavalcades in multiple $120,000 Toyota Land Cruisers, and they literally barge everyone, including ambulances, off the road. And everyone knows that. Yeah, everyone knows that's dodgy. That's morally bankrupt. And so they need something to distract people from the fact that a few people, government people and wealthy business people, are exceedingly rich and making huge amounts of money and literally drinking champagne behind barbed wire fences while people are starving and have no water and no toilet on the other side of the fence. The other thing that really shocked me and upset me was elderly women get accused of being witches. Yeah. And then they lynch. Some of them are lynched. They lynch them.
Yeah, kill them on the street.
Yeah, and a lot of this is circles around, it doesn't circle around Ghanaian or West African culture. It comes from evangelical churches like the Pentecostal church that Scott Morrison belongs to. They don't like gay people, and they actually some of the pastors over there are some of the richest people, and then family members get talked into surrendering their mentally, like, say, someone with a mental health issue or with cancer, to a prayer camp. And then they get chained to a tree, and then if they're not getting better, they say, well, you're not praying enough and you need to pay more money. So corruption, actually, the levels of corruption are really bad, and like attacking LGBT people is a really good way to draw attention away from that.
And what a lot of people maybe don't know is, there is a lot of interest in West Africa for the Australian government because there is a lot of mining activity over there. And so it doesn't, I wasn't surprised. The rest of the nation of Ghana, a lot of the Americans and all that were like, I remember when you were out of there, out of the job. I wasn't surprised that our former Prime Minister, who I'm sure you were working under, was like, get him out of there, who is an evangelical Christian who was big in mining, asked you to get out of there and stop talking and supporting the LGBTQI plus community. It was fascinating. It was fascinating to me that people were surprised by it.
Yeah. So officially, like, that's one of these things from confidentiality. I can't say exactly what Scott Morrison said or did.
Sure.
But what I can tell you is that now back in Australia, I don't have to sacrifice my values, and I can stand up for the LGBT community, children in Gaza, climate action, and nature conservation, and I don't have to compromise my values. And unfortunately, Australia actually is a pretty good place to live. Like, and there are many parts of the world where human rights are worse for everyone. But this is the thing: when we start picking and choosing human rights, it's a slippery slope, because that's how atrocities and fascism build up. They don't happen overnight. They start taking away the power of certain people or certain groups, and then they ramp up the discrimination more and more. And so I think it's more important ever now in the world that we're facing that we have truth-telling and bravery on these things, and that we look after each other, and we, instead of promoting hate, we promote love and compassion and kindness.
Well, I'm very appreciative of your time. I'm so lucky that you are in my world and that we've crossed paths in very fascinating ways and lives.
And I would just like to say thank you for being part of the Luke and Sassy Scott podcast.
Oh, thanks, guys.
You are the definition of an ally, mate. I'm very appreciative of you. I'm sure a lot of people are.
Guys. All right, deadly.
See you, mate.
Thank you.
I shared a video on my Insta that I crazily thought was just common knowledge, and I shared it just because it's a nice story, but the amount of people that were writing like, oh my God, I had no fucking idea, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is beautiful, heartbreaking. So I thought I may as well share it here too. So previously, before the AIDS pandemic in the 80s, it used to be GLBT the community, right? But then when AIDS hit in, pretty rife. I think it was 1985, 1986. The medical institutions, a lot of other institutions, families didn't connect or even see their gay child or brother or sibling or whatever, and were left alone. And even that's when they brought in the blood donation rules, so gay men could no longer donate blood anymore, and they were left in really horrific conditions by themselves. And it was lesbians who were like, hang on, these are our brothers, and they were the ones that went in and sat with gay men who were, I can't even imagine how alone they felt, who went and sat with them, held their hands, gave them their medication, were with them on their deathbeds and
So
until
it was
their
a
final
movement.
moments.
It was a movement from the
lesbians stood up and stepped up for us. And so there isn't a governing body that decides on, whether the L is first. However, it was like a movement of the queer community that went, hang on, in honor of what the lesbians did. Like, people were so scared to see or be in a room with someone that had HIV and AIDS, and lesbians went, well, not us, they're our brothers. So, they kind of pushed through the barrier and the boundary to make sure that we weren't alone as people. And So it's an honour, really, to have Al at the start because they paved the way and were so strong in a time where our community was absolutely being destroyed by something that was really fearful. And so hats off to Lesos. Only a gay man can say that.
Are allies represented in the letters?
No.
Do you reckon they could be? Do you reckon they could add
sometimes,
A?
so it's fascinating. Yeah, there is an A.
Is that
asexual? And then there's a couple of other, what is a asexual, aromantic, agender, depending on the context. But I like to say that A is also ally.
A lot more inclusive.
Unofficially.
Yeah. And this Pride Month, what do you think a straight ally can do most to be the best ally possible? What do you think?
I think it's really important to understand just how lucky you are that you don't have these stories and that you don't have to have had to endure what somebody in our community has. Everyone's story is unique and different. However, just be really proud that you didn't have to go through what we say we've gone through, whether that's collectively or individually. And I just like being an ally to other communities because it's really easy for me. I don't know what it's like to be a fucking woman, a woman of colour, an Aboriginal person, Torres Strait Islander person. I have no fucking idea, and I'm never going to imagine what it's like. But do I have a fucking voice, and can I stand next to them when they're exhausted in their own fight? Absolutely I can. Pass me the baton. So I just say, grab the baton from our community every now and then. Count your blessings that you don't have to endure what a lot of us have had to endure, and many still are. And just stand up and speak up when and where we need you.
Luke and Sassy.
Scott.
So Luke and I think it's really important that when you go to somebody's house, you say, thanks for having us. So we would like to say a big thank you to the Wurundjeri, Woi Wurrung and Bunurong peoples of the Southeastern Kulin Nation, the land on which this podcast is recorded on.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.